Hello there. Oh no, I cleared things. Okay, I was like, oh my God, I don't have room to make this video, and it's Mercury retrograde. But then I remembered I backed up like 23 gigs, so we're good to go. Mercury clear, you know what I mean? So hi, good to be back. It's July. I was just looking in the wrong camera and I realized something, but I'm gonna let it flow this time. I realized the reason I was having the camera issues I was having before you got on here with me is because the phone is the opposite direction than the way that I usually do it because I've been looking in a different corner. But variety is the spice of life. And we're just going to go with the flow. You know what I mean? So I did the July reading for the energy this month. And I was pleasantly surprised about the kind of energy that it speaks to. I use the deck of character. The deck of character is an oracle deck that is broken into, excuse me while I apply some castor oil to my lips. Looking in the wrong camera again. Did you see that? As I apply some castor oil to my lips because I'm allergic to most things, including beeswax. And so I have to use very specific things on my lips. And castor oil is thick oil, so it's really like the only oil that does the job on the lips. So now that we've had that interesting foray into information, back to the deck of character. The deck of character is an oracle deck. It is an oracle deck by Hannah. I wanted to make sure I butchered her last name correctly. By Hannah Wnorowski. Wnorowski. I don't know if the W is silent, in which case it's Wnorowski. Wnorowski. It's not Wnorowski. I said I was going to butcher it though, didn't I? So I did what I said I was going to do. And it's an oracle deck, and it's broken into places, tools, and characters. And I was pulling a card earlier today during my my service. I went to Ifa service this morning with my Ile, and as I was listening to what my Baba was saying, the head male person of my spiritual house, I shuffled the deck and I pulled these 6 cards, and these 6 cards are also the reading for July, which makes sense because, as above, so below. Where I go to learn is also where I go to get informed to be helpful to you all. So, but these cards have nothing to do with Ifa, to be clear. So, 2 seconds while I hydrate. Let me also encourage you to take a moment to sip your tea or your tonic or your water. Or your libations. I don't know what time of day you're watching this. And I'm not judging you. So, let's talk about July. Our first card is a tool. Compass. Direction. Having it, right? I think I talked last month, and I say I think because I channel this stuff and then I forget what I said, so I don't even remember, but I think I said in June that it was important to sort of find out what your passion was and what you do for the sake of the thing itself. And that is the North Star. That is the North Star of your being. That is the North Star of your consciousness, which is your purpose, right? It's to follow your purpose in the direction of your purpose. I was editing for ableist language. I was going to say footsteps. And I was like, oh, not everybody walks. And then I was like, not everyone even has feet. How can I say this? Direction of your purpose. So sometimes you just have to be that thoughtful. Just sometimes, it's like eventually it just becomes very natural. And so going in the direction of your purpose is the compass. That's the north, true north. And think of, I'd like to encourage the thought of north in a multi-dimensional perspective, not just on a linear plane, right? Don't just think of north in terms of what is north to you on earth. Think of north as what it might be like to be in a different field of experience that isn't known to you. Because when we go in the pursuit of our purpose, we are going into the frontier. We're going into the frontier of our personhood. And because we're going into the frontier of our personhood, the compass is a guide, but it's not a map. You might have a map, but where you're exactly going, you have to discover, right? So the point of that is that, like, you're not supposed to know the destination, right? You're supposed to have an idea of what it's like, but the whole point of needing a map and needing a compass is that you haven't been there before. And so you can't have these expectations. I mean, whatever, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but I would not suggest that you have the expectations then that this behavior, because you're trusting, isn't enough, right? Like the behavior of doing the thing that you want to be doing to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can take it to the best that you are able, with no expectation of the outcome. That you're doing that thing for the love of the thing itself, and that you're not caught up in the reward of performing that doing, aka having other people witness it in order to tell you that it was good, right? But obviously, going into the frontier, not the final frontier, but one of the many that humans have completely avoided, which is the inner self, is going to require the next tool, which is the breath. And that's important because you gotta, like, I mean, for instance, whether you're doing something hard that you've never done before, whether you're doing something good for your body that's a form of self-care like massage, you got to breathe through that. Like, not every aspect of that. I mean, first of all, it's like a contingency of life on Earth as a human. Like, you got to breathe. So let's just put that on the table. But now that that's on the table, how you breathe, the usefulness of your breath, how much of a tool you can actually utilize through it, or how much of your toolbox you can utilize through that tool, is important, because breathing and essentially, my mom and my auntie are watching something that is very orchestral, and so I was distracted by the flutes because I thought they were birds, because usually there's birds out here. So yeah, using the breath, which I think is also like another way of saying patience, that you have to just give yourself a beat, a moment to process, to experience, to sit in the feeling and the knowledge and the doing of something, to be where you're at. And so to do the thing that you want to be doing for the sake of the thing itself, right? And I had to learn very early on in readings that, like, it wasn't so important what the readings ended up telling you. I think I got very good at readings because I was much more involved in the journey process of the reading, the experience of doing the reading, than I was at, like, getting to the end result and being like, and that's the truth. I mean, I don't think I ever have fucking ended a reading like that. But if I have, hopefully I was correct. But all that is to say is that the reason the quality improves is because the relationship improves. So the quality improves in you and in it, whatever that thing, that purpose, or the purposes that you are pursuing for your existence, right? And then that collective and expanding, that's not quite the word I wanted, appreciating feedback between you and the thing that you want to be doing for the love of the thing itself, which can include relationships with other people, right? Because the relationship is a third thing, that is a thing unto itself. And the way that you cater to it is also the way that you cater to yourself, because a relationship is only as good as the people who make it up. But as you do that thing, it's appreciating, and that creates abundance, because it's a positive feedback that creates expansion, and healthy expansion, like natural expansion, right? And we know that because the next place, from tools we get to a place, ooh, a break, we get to, like, rest in a place, and that place is quite nice. It is the gold mine. The gold mine. This is how everyone is going to figure out how to sustain themselves. Everyone, like, a lot of people have this fear. I know I have, and it's amazing to speak of myself as a version of me that is not connected to that version anymore. Which, let me just take a moment, because for me that's impressive. So a lot of the construction of humanity involves this anxiety and this worry around whether or not you are capable of supporting yourself and being happy. Fucking yikes, right? Very, very, very like Protestant, very Catholic. That is very patriarchal, and nihilistic. But I digress. We have this concern regardless, right? Like, what am I purpose? What am I here for? Existence? Why myself? And then that can be positively, negatively, neutrally expanded upon based on the socialization and construct methods of any given society. We know where we are, we know it's globalized, we know it's hegemonic, so, blah, blah, blah. But the irony of that is that the real success would be found through the compass breath method. It's like just following your purpose to the best that you're able, and then breathing through the discomfort of learning how to be places that you haven't been before. And the gold is found in the fact that you're like, oh, the unknown is just things I haven't done yet, experiences I have yet to have. It's not out to get me. And because you do that, you use the next tool, magnet. Well, whether or not you do that, you use this tool to attract stuff, right? Which isn't to say that negative people attract negative things, because, technically that's not even how magnets work. It's more or less to say, and also, though, magnets are like, we have such a, again, one-dimensional, linear perspective of magnets, because if there's like a multi-dimensional magnet, then, and each part of the magnet has a different frequency range or like propulsion level that then ends up attracting different things, then the idea is that like multiple things can be attracted to a person. It's not like one-dimensional. I am bad, so I only attract the bad. I am good, so I only attract the good. That's not how it works. And rather, how it works is that you trust what you do, and then you attract more trust. Yo. This is why I read in my altar space, because sometimes they be giving me lines that I'm like, I needed that. I needed that healing. You attract what you do, so you attract more trust when you trust. The Tao says this really beautifully too. It's like, good people are good to people who are good, and people who are not good. That's why they are truly good. People who trust those who are trustworthy, and those who are untrustworthy. That's why they truly are trustful. And so it's like the point, the sake of the thing for the thing itself. That you do more of what you want in your existence, so at the very least, you inhabit that. And as challenging as that may be in a nihilistic, limiting, negating, self-loathing, special society, such as humanity, that's still the prerogative. It doesn't change the fact that the game is what it is. The game is what it is. And also, on the other side of the gold mine, though, we have, and it's funny because depending on how you will choose to perceive things, you can see this as almost the counterpart on another dimension of the spectrum in the positive. It's like the Ten of Swords in tarot. Going to a bad place to do a good thing. I think of the Ten of Swords as the medic card. It's like the person on the battlefield who wears white and who helps people on either side, and no one kills them because they're there to do, even though it's a shitty place to be and there's obviously a war going on, there are people there to do other things. And so you're appreciating the fact that they are holding that sort of like monumental space, right? So when you can see the positive and the negative, or find a way to be positive in a negative circumstance, whether it's overwhelming or not, then you may see this card as a more positive aspect. But it's not necessarily that, and it's our second place. Sunken ship. So, sunken ship is a lot of things, right? Yeah, a lot of ships have gone down with money on them, whether that means gems and jewels or human people who were used as property, or even dollar bills, or people with credit cards that had a lot of offshore money in accounts that will never be seen again, or in Swedish banks. Whatever goes down with the ship, that is resources. What also goes down with the ship is ideas, will enacted, purposes, cultures, families, societies, individuals, you know? So there's a lot that's, a boat represents a lot, especially a sunken one that isn't functioning. So beyond the fact that, yes, there is treasure at the bottom of the sea from boats that were going across the waters in different eras and different times, but there are also the relics and remnants of societies that thought they were particular in some regard. And there's nothing inherently negative about that. I mean, obviously, if you exist, the point is to contemplate that fucker. Like, whoop, there it is. Like, that's the shits. But, like, at the same time, how one does that and through what methodology is exactly what makes this next card our final place, our resting place, the home. And, you know, through the proper balance of the magnetization of your positive and negative experiences. And by the way, is the gold mine positive for the gold mine worker throughout the ages who had poor lung quality and probably was a child even still today, and who was beaten and murdered and given no money to do this shit? Was that a positive place? So you know that motherfucker's relative. You know what I mean? So, but when you properly magnetize between those motherfuckers and you trust your purpose and then you breathe through that motherfucker, where do you find yourself? Alive. And also grateful to be alive, and also present in your life, and also present in life, and also life, and also life. So that's the reading for July. May you use this energy well. And let me know what you think. Okay, thanks, bye.